Hey everybody, it's Why We Love Horror. We do it whenever we want. This is episode 92. More to come. I'm John Moore. That's Abby Brooks. That's Aaron Brooks. Hey, this is a movie that's been coming forever. It's literally been coming for decades. But how are you guys feeling this week?
We're feeling good.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this movie, the third in the franchise, or the third movie of its ilk, at least. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
we're talking about 28 years later. All right.
Yes.
That's enough. Anyone want to take a crack at a synopsis on this? It's a little... It'll lead into a discussion, at least.
I mean, I can try.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie is essentially... It feels like two different movies, but I guess the main gist of it is that we know 28 days later, 28 weeks later, there's the infected people, and there's like a group of, like a community that's living on an island. The main focus is a young kid named Spike, and the Aaron Taylor Johnson character, and a mom. And basically they basically just kind of go off to the mainland, deal with the infected. Yeah, they hunt the infected. They kind of interact with them. And then there's a little bit more family dynamics that happen. Yeah. Other people show up.
Yeah, like we've been through 28 days later. We've seen what happens there, and 28 weeks later, when the United States, tries to save them, and it just doesn't go well. And now here we are, 28 years later, and the world has said to the British Isles, because everyone here has an Irish accent, so I imagine we're somewhere in the north.
Yes,
it's either Ireland or Scotland, judging by the way everybody talks.
I think it's Scotland.
Yeah, they're saying Scotland, but everybody has like a really Irish.
Yeah,
whatever. Look at what's happened to the British Isles. Everyone's Irish.
You're not going to hire Jack O'Connell without having a lot of Irish people.
That's right. Jack O'Connell, not to spoil my favorite part of the movie, he's very Irish. And they're all very Irish at the end of the movie. It's a very Irish final scene. Very happy about that. So they're cut off, and all the rest of the world is like, fuck you, UK. And like now they're under like full on quarantine with all the other 100 countries of the world, basically telling all these people, no one's leaving this island. No one's getting off. If you try to swim off this island, try to leave this island, we're going to kill you, blah, blah, blah. And that comes into play later because Swedish people, get stranded on the island. It's so you're right. A lot happens, but it's fine. I guess let's toss up spoilers just in case we say something that's silly. I don't want to upset people by spoiling stuff. So yeah, we have this island, the Snook, right, which is also very Scottish, Irish, whatever. We're definitely in the northern part of the country, and for some reason, it's got a natural causeway that, like, when it's at low tide, it connects this long ass walking path between the island and the thing. Though I don't understand, and like I have little issues with it, but I forget them all. Like I understand how I guess they explain that the current would wash you away if you tried to swim it. Mm-hmm. Whatever.
Yeah, they do mention that.
Yeah, but it's a self-sufficient island. Like they're growing all their own shit. They're making all their own clothes. Obviously, there's no technology because they're cut off from everything. They haven't rediscovered that yet. Nobody knows how to do that. But yeah, they still feel a need to leave the island just to hunt things, even though there's nothing they really need on the mainland. So that's odd, but cool.
So but it definitely sets up a coming of age, kind of story / video game like Last of Us. First half of this movie's, each part of it is a lot like other movies, which I know every movie there's 7 stories or whatever, but
there's even a train.
What's that?
There's even a train in this movie.
Yeah. Yes. But it starts out very like Last of Us with the Aaron Taylor Johnson character. Is it Jamie?
Jamie, yep.
Jamie.
They love J names in this franchise.
And Spike, which Spike is my favorite character in the movie. I'll just spoiler alert that right away. I think Alfie Williams is great in this. He's never been in anything else, which works out with horror child actors often. So props to him. I'm looking forward to kind of having him be kind of the person we follow throughout these 3 movies as he kind of evolves in his arc, I think. he'll definitely be a focus. If he dies in the next movie, it would be a super surprising and effective death. So maybe that will happen.
They kind of painted him up as pretty badass. And actually, you said The Last of Us, but I also see it like when they're walking around. It's kind of like that God of War game where Atreus.
I mean, it was just a video game
It
setup
was.
overall, where it's like, learn how to kill the infected, kill the fat one first.
Yeah.
And it's like, hit the neck, don't
There's
get scared.
There's a whole tutorial that he goes through in the movie.
Yeah, and you know, like I'm seeing a lot of people who are saying and I won't just spend this whole review reviewing the reviews of this review because that's annoying, but or saying like, oh, I really liked the first half and I wish that was the whole movie. I'm really glad that wasn't what we ended up getting. While it's good, it wasn't particularly exciting, but going back a little bit here, I want to start with the opening of the movie with Jimmy, the child Jimmy. So it opens with kind of what we've seen in the trailer. And I mean, so far, there's 3 openings for these 28 movies, whatever they're called, the 28 later movies. What's the series called? The Rage.
Yeah, the Rage Virus trilogy.
That's not as good. It's got to be 28 something later.
The funniest meme I saw where it's like 28 days, 28 days later, 28 weeks later, 28 months later, and like the first one's really weird.
Yeah,
they have the first one as 28 days. That's
But either way, with these movies, they're 3 for 3 on the openings, in my opinion, because this one I do think lives up to kind of the brutality of the second one. That's a lot of times what the only thing people talk about from the second movie. Danny Boyle decides to only talk about the second movie for like 1 line, so it's ironic. It's just like kind of how 28 weeks later is being treated. But with Jimmy, he's like sitting with his family, I believe, relatives, watching the Teletubbies.
I think what we're seeing in the beginning is like all the adults know what's up because the kids are already freaking freaked out watching the Teletubbies. The one girl's like, ooh, ooh. So obviously they were like hurriedly shoved into that room.
Sure.
And people on the outside like, what the fuck's going on?
Right, as members of the church or whatever.
Yeah.
So then the infected are coming in, barging in. They're starting to just murder Mom. Mom falls through the glass, like says, "Jimmy, run, Jimmy, run." And then he runs into the church, sees his dad, the priest, who's like, seems like he was full on insane, which the mom seemed normal. The mom seemed like a normal mom, at least from the 5 seconds we heard her screaming. The dad's like, oh, this is what we've wanted, go. Jimmy hands him the cross, and like he just like takes like 1 million infected people on him as he's like, oh, salvation, which is like, like again, like a Resident Evil priest or something, like in the video game. Yeah. So then we kind of just fast forward. I think it says 28 years later. And here we are. So good opening. Of the 3 openings, if it's like the Final Destinations where you have to rate the openings now, I would still give it to the second one overall.
Fair enough. Yeah, you're right. So then we get into this whole like Last of Us kind of like coming of age hunting sequence, and they kind of just barely make it back because like now the infected, I guess over the course of 28 years, it has become like a Last of Us or like Resident Evil type thing where there's different types. You have fat ones that crawl on the ground. You got skinny little ramblers. Then you got alphas, these big men, large donged alphas.
Always naked.
Everyone's naked.
Everyone's naked.
They kind of get away with it because it's like really, I don't want to say it's tasteful, but it's like, it's not sexual whatsoever. So I guess they just get away with it.
It is not, I think they could have gone a little further with it, but whatever. I'm not going to spend a long time here talking about the prosthetic dongs here. But
you think they were prosthetic?
They can confirm because of child acting laws in England, they had to be prosthetics. So yes,
I don't understand how that's any better.
It's disappointing if anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, the new design of the zombie I almost said the Z word. Sorry, the infected. Sorry, I'm a fan. Don't worry, I didn't say the Z word. The alphas were pretty cool.
Mhm.
And I do think we're going to get a lot more information with kind of what they really mean. I think the infected are finding ways to breed. That's why they've continued for 28 years. We're going to have a reason why they haven't just been starved out.
They covered that in the first movie, actually, because they have the one dude chained up, and he's been chained up, and they were trying to starve him out. And they're trying to see how long it takes, and he just never starves out.
Right.
So
well, and the other thing they show quickly, like towards the end, is as they were like invading. This is one of the last like the rush scenes. They show one of the infected grabbing the fish that was being cooked and eating the fish.
Mm-hmm.
So they're also at least willing to eat other things. They've expanded their cuisine.
Yeah, definitely.
Their palates.
And we're glossing over a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously, a lot of people are talking about, Ralph Fiennes as Dr. Kelson. He's a very interesting character, I think. He's survived by himself by smearing himself with iodine for 28 years, I guess. That's just the big secret. And creating a gigantic monument of skulls and bones as like the Stonehenge of the modern era, I guess.
The Bone Temple.
Yes. And then we also kind of gloss over the Swedish people getting. There's like, you probably saw in the trailers, there's like army guys. That's a Swedish boat that ran aground, and now they can't leave the island, and they just eat shit. Like all 8 of them eat shit. Though one of them survives a little bit longer, and he's a fancy boy named Eric who has a girlfriend who has had work done, and Spike basically says she's ugly as shit. I agree with Spike.
Yeah.
And then, Jodie Comer's character, Isla, is the mother. She is like, it feels like she has dementia. She's definitely like tossing and turning and seeing shit. And she thinks she's a little girl. Then she comes back to normal. Then she thinks she's a little girl. So Spike takes her like after only one time off the island, he's able to does this side quest to save his mother to find Dr. Kelson. Mm-hmm. And turns out she's got cancer, and euthanasia is just immediately put on the table. It's just like, well, let's just kill you.
Let's kill you off screen.
Yeah.
It felt very anticlimactic, honestly, because that's the whole second half of the movie, which again, I mean, it's still good, but it felt very easy for them to just kind of get, I mean, they came across other infected, and then they had like the army guy, and then they came across the alpha on the train and the baby and all of that. Like that all there really is a lot that happened in this movie now that we're like talking about it. But yeah, that's the whole second half of the movie, and it just felt very like once they got to Ralph Fiennes, who I thought was going to be like he's a big character, but they show up and he like does a look over and he's like, "Yep, you have cancer. That's it. Goodbye," kind of thing.
Yeah. I do think the scene where Spike, says goodbye to her was really well done. Like it almost got me, but it was I think that was really well done. That's all I'll say.
I kind of agree. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I thought it was well done. Also, I didn't feel as much. I don't know why. Like it just something just about that whole relationship didn't really stick with me. Again, maybe it's just because I felt that it like moved way too quickly through all of that. But yeah, I thought that was a really well done scene.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And then I guess they just do away with her, and then Dr. Kelson's like, well, our business is done here, kid. Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And he takes he just gives the kid the baby. And like he's like, now go, and after giving the skull to him to put on top of the tower, which it's gives the poster, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
Here's the thing, I don't know if she's dead. We got 2 more movies here, and I'm not sure if Isla's work here is done, just because I think that maybe she has some knowledge, particularly about the infected baby and how the infected are able to start procreating. I think there was just a lack of surprise with the mother, with kind of what was going on there, that I feel like her, the doctor, the husband, they all have something going on. It's a small island, and that was a very bright fire that they could see at any time. And there's a reason that Jamie did not want Spike going there. And we have not found that out yet. And it's when if you're killed off screen, you have not been killed when you're a major character, especially in a horror movie. And Isla was killed off screen. This like clean skull comes out, and I guess that's Isla's skull. Maybe it is, but we got 2 more movies here. The Doctor's gonna play a bigger role continuing here, and I don't think he's as benevolent as he appears. Just like most of the characters we get introduced to towards the end. Who are aware of each other also when we get to the end, which can we talk about the end yet?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Easily, like this movie was never going to be rated poorly, even mediocre, the second the ending happens for me. Yeah. Because God of Gods, Jack O'Connell shows up dressed like a Game of Thrones character in a tracksuit with a bunch of other Irish.
I'll tell you who he was just as in a second.
Yeah, Irish shillelagh wielding parkour Cirque du Soleil troupe who just lay waste to a bunch of infected. And then if I could have stood up and started screaming, I would, but I was in Allentown and I didn't want to get killed. So yeah, it would easily like just put this movie on another level. Jack O'Connell, let's go. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Abby. I'll finish off here because I'm going to be a minute.
I don't know. I mean, I was just, it's a fun ending. I was a little taken aback by it. It's very surprising, and it's a very different, like, it's a very big tone shift. Like, you see Jack O'Connell show up, and then his friends start doing like flips and like
working together.
Yeah, it's very. It took me aback, and I think I like it, but it's very weird. And I think again, yeah, I mean, all of this stuff is setting up for movies to come. I'm curious about, and I know Aaron has a lot of stuff to say about his thoughts about it, but I'm curious as to how this group of people is going to translate to the movies that are to come. Like, is the sequel going to be goofy? Is it going to be different in the second movie? Like, are they going to be more serious and not just like doing flips? And they look like the Power Rangers to me, honestly.
Mm-hmm. They're definitely all the right colors.
Right. But yeah, I'm very curious, but when they came on screen, I was like, whoa, like, what is this?
He's got rings on every finger. He's wearing a fucking tiara. I was like, yeah, let's go. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, and this is like movie number 3.5 of 3.5 in this movie. And I really do like it. I enjoyed it in the moment. I love it more as I've thought about it more, though, and what it leads to. I'm so glad that there's already the second movie, I think, coming out in like January, so it's coming out soon-ish. Nia DaCosta directing. You don't know which way it's going to go. If it's going to be that silly like Marvel side of Nia DaCosta, or is it going to be the Candyman like societal horror, like deeper layers to what is being shown side? I think it's going to be a little combination of the two, but I think it's more going to be the Candyman side of Nia DaCosta here. And I think the second movie is going to be very dark. I do not think this is a light implication that it appears on the surface. For one, the music, it's like a hardcore like version of the Teletubbies song. So I know that it's like, haha, that's funny. But on the surface, if you just take the surface of it, it's a dark version of it. This is the Jimmy from the beginning, for sure. There's no doubt about it. This is the child grown up. He was raised by a fucked up priest who probably indoctrinated him in some ways, maybe sexually abused him, or maybe someone within the church did. That's known to happen once or twice. So especially particular, I know. Sorry about it. Don't come at me. I'm Jewish. But I think we're going to find out more of Jimmy's backstory here, why he's the way he was. And there's a guy in England who Abby's had to hear about for the last couple of days a lot. I've watched a lot of stuff on this guy, Jimmy Savile. So if you don't know who Jimmy Savile is, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here doing it because that's how this is. Long story short, he was a big prominent member of British pop culture, kind of like the Top of the Pops, like Bob Clark, you know, like Top of the Pops here, like Bob Clark type of, you know,
Dick Clark?
Dick Clark, whatever. Dick Clark, there we go.
Yeah.
You know, and so he was like very well respected, had a very well-known open secret that he was sexually abusing both young kids and elderly people. And it was basically an open secret. He'd go to the hospitals, like kids who were disadvantaged. So it didn't come out until after his death, but it was like an open secret until then. He always wore colorful tracksuits, had bright blonde hair, had the rings that you discussed as well. Just look up a picture of Jimmy Savile. Maybe we'll even put up a picture right here in post. I don't know.
I will do that. Here's another one.
Tell me he doesn't look like the Jimmys. And so I think the second movie is going to lead to a lot darker of a second movie. I think it will be more focused as well. I think Spike's going to really start to idolize these people, these Jimmys, be like, these guys are awesome. I want to be a part of them. But the doctor's aware of it. So either the doctor is more evil than he's being led on, or the doctor is going to want Spike to stay away from these Jimmys, and it's going to be like a kind of a battle for Spike here. Or we're going to get to a Jim versus Jimmy finale with Cillian Murphy's character coming in back, Jim, or that character is the leader of the Jimmys, and he's gone awry in the last 28 years, and our hero Jim's going to be like, oh no, he's got a bunch of freaks working for him. But either way, I'm super pumped for the Bone Temple. Probably more excited for that than I am for what I have currently with this movie. But yeah, that's my spiel about Jimmy Savile, and I think there's no doubt it's at least inspiring, if not directly. If not, they're going to directly relate to it, which in like England, it's like very much more well known. But I have watched a couple documentaries on Jimmy Savile and a show with Steve Coogan that came out earlier this year, I believe. So like it did pop to me in the moment, and I am seeing some others with that theory. So we'll see if it's just an homage or not. The other homage, I think that was clear, is Clockwork Orange. I feel like with like the playful killing and like the droops, like kind of style of the Jimmys. So I think there's some sexual abuse coming.
All right. Well, on that note, let's get to the ratings. You guys can start. Whoever wants to start.
You've had to hear me talk for a little bit. I will go ahead and finish up with my ratings, and I won't be long on these. Don't worry. I'm mostly excited about my Jimmy Savile theory. And luckily, unlike Dr. Gordon, I won't have to talk about it for years to find out if I'm right with the Saw franchise with this. So 3.5 videotapes here for me for this installment as it is right now. I would put it just slightly ahead of 28 Weeks Later, behind 28 Days Later for me. There's a whole lot of movie here, and not all of it works. I didn't love also, we didn't talk about it too much, but I did not love how they used a bunch of songs, like it was like a music video instead of the score. I just didn't think it worked. It felt like old guy trying to be hip, which is what Danny Boyle is, which is fine. He's cooler than all.
I think he would admit that. Yeah.
Yes. Like, I think it is what it appears. So 3.5. Solid.
Abby?
Yeah, I feel very similarly to Aaron. I think with this movie, we've been talking a lot about like the sequels to come. Like we know, like starting out that this is meant to be a trilogy coming out. Like I think the second movie is already made, filmed, whatever. I kind of wish it's a good, really good, solid movie. My rating is also 3.5, but I think that the movie should be able to kind of stand on its own. And I think a lot of people are going to do a lot of comparing. And once the next couple movies come out and we see where things go, they're going to be revisiting this. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't know, let's like be in the moment with this one. But I'm very much so on the same page as Aaron about pretty much everything he said. I feel like we agree with most of it.
I think you're making a good point about films being able to stand on their own. But I think at least in the last few years, there's been like this trend where like there's telling us up front, like there's going to be 12 of these. or there's going to be 3 of these. There's going to be 2 of these, and they treat it like the first third of a gigantic movie. Like I'm thinking of like Kevin Costner shooting himself in the face with like this Horizon series, puts out a 3-hour movie where nothing happens. Like, oh,
yeah, it's worked out great so far.
Yeah, there's 9 hours to come, but you're not going to see any of it in theaters. And that's just one of many examples. But yeah, this movie, they're just taking that gamble, but I think they hit. I'm a little biased because if you put Jack O'Connell in anything, I'm gonna just be totally. So 4.5 for me. Jack O'Connell was there. Yeah, that's it. But again, not that I'm justifying all the things that are wrong with this movie, but I didn't dislike any of them to the point that like that ending couldn't just blow me away and like make me look back at rose-colored glasses for everything else. So 4.5 for me. Well, if you made it this far in the video, like, comment, subscribe, share, go to the Facebook group at Why We Love Horror. The Letterboxd challenge is here. That'll tie into the show we do every Thursday. And the schedule here is the same. Monday is Versus. Tuesday, Liv will be back. She's back, and she wants to tape, so she's back. She's going to do Hotel Transylvania 3 this Tuesday. Wednesday, Aaron Unwinds. Was it Friday the 13th Part 2 coming this week? Thursday, we are doing Slow Burns on the Why We Love Horror Letterboxd Challenge Watch-Along show. And then Friday, Why We Love Horror Trivia. I think I'm finally going to dive into the stuff that I've been holding. I don't know, we're taping the free-for-all today, so maybe we'll do that. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Tune in and find out. But until next time, I'm JWMaher, and that's Abby Brooks, and that's Aaron Brooks. This has been another episode of Why We Love Horror.